All right. What I would like to do right now is take you through a demo of Checkpoint's um, IPS. So, intrusion protection system. What do we do here um, in the world of Checkpoint and perimeter security firewall? So first, just a kind of picture of where we lie. In our licensing and subscription model. With every appliance that we sell, whether that's an actual hardware appliance or it's a virtual appliance in the cloud, every appliance comes with base firewall, which is this light pink section here. So we have firewall, VPN, clustering, identity awareness, and a small mobile access license of 5 concurrent users. So this is what comes with every firewall. You don't need an additional subscription for these pieces. Um, and then as we progress to what we call next gen firewall, NGFW, that is where IPS comes into play. So if you want to run um, IPS at a bare minimum, you need NGFW, and that also comes with application control. If you want deeper threat prevention, which we highly recommend, then you would be looking at NGTP, which includes these blades here in the darker kind of purple area. And if you want to have the top threat prevention capability, then that's NGTX, signatureless um, threat prevention technology, which um, is based on emulation and extraction. So that's where we're going. We're going to be looking at NGFW, and we're going to be looking at IPS. Now, one of the things that I wanted to take you through is what we call the ThreatCloud. And the reason for it is that just giving you a demo of IPS isn't going to put on display the power that's behind the technology, which is the ThreatCloud. The ThreatCloud is the checkpoint technology that delivers signatures to our portfolio of blades. So if we come back to this picture right here, all of these prevention blades, threat prevention blades, are signature based. Those signatures come from the threat cloud. Now, if I were to give you one word to really think about and hone on in this slide, it's collaboration. This is the power of collaboration. The threat cloud is a data lake. We have a team of scientists that are dedicated to it. It's all they do in our research and development team, right? Is they gather intelligence out of the threat cloud using AI and deep machine learning, and all of our customers are connected into it, right? So that's why we like to use the word collaboration, because everybody benefits from the sharing of this data and the AI and deep learning capabilities that are inside of it. Just to give you an example, um, just let's say, for example, we have a customer that's in Italy, and they're running threat emulation and extraction, and the customer goes to download an executable. Well, that executable is uploaded into our threat cloud, and it goes through um, a number of AI and deep learning engines, many of them, to determine whether or not this file is malicious. And we have an exceptional effectiveness rate, right? We're under 1% in false positives in the industry. And if the threat cloud determines that there is a malicious verdict, then what happens is that verdict gets deployed to the millions of endpoints, customer customers, checkpoint customers across the world within seconds, right? So you get the immediate benefit of being part of the checkpoint ecosystem and the power of collaboration that comes out of the checkpoint ThreatCloud. So this is why I wanted to take you through this. Now, our ThreatCloud is 85% AI engine based, right? So we've got AI engines that are learning the behavior of code. And when it sees something that is outside of the behavior, that's where it gets flagged, right? And as we discover 0-day vulnerabilities and malicious attacks out in the wild, those AI engines and what they're learning from the data that is in the threat cloud is fed into our signature pool, right? So again, it's why it's so important to understand that this is what's happening in the background. We spend a lot of time, money, energy, and effort in ensuring that our threat cloud and the AI capabilities are cutting edge and able to deliver the kind of threat prevention that you require for your environments. Many of, not all, but many of our IPS signatures are machine generated. So coming from our AI capability and our deep learning capability, some of those signatures are machine generated. So we've got people who are putting together signatures and we're releasing them based on what's out in the industry, what's important coming from other vendors as far as CVEs are concerned, but we also are doing our own work against those 0-day attacks that really nobody is aware of yet. So this is why we do IPS so well at Checkpoint. It's one of our strong suits. We're not bashful about that, and we're quite proud of it. We're seeing thousands of attacks every week in the threat cloud. We're preventing over 3,000. We're detecting 400 new malicious 0-day attacks every week. We've got millions of endpoints, hundreds of thousands of connected networks. And again, Checkpoint research, right? Scientists dedicated to this environment. And the last thing that really I want to bring up about our code, right? It's very clean. And we're proud of that. Over the past 3 years, we have been associated to one and one only CVE in the marketplace, right? So we've had one vulnerability, and it took us 2 days to deliver signatures into the marketplace to ensure it was patched. So you can see that in comparison to some of our competitors in the marketplace, we are leading the way when it comes to our software stack. Now, what I'd like to do is move over to my environment. So let me do that. So kind of coming into my environment, what I want to do now is just take you through a brief demo and show you primarily, how IPS is deployed, how it's configured, managed, and also importantly, how it is fine-tuned, right? So you can spend some significant time fine-tuning this so that that you're reaching that perfect point of equilibrium where steady state where I have an excellent threat prevention profile, but I'm also performing where I need to be, right? That's the goal. That's where we want to help you get to. So if I want to deploy threat prevention on a gateway, very simple. I just come into the gateway properties, and you can see here are where we configure the blades that we're deploying on any particular gateway. It's literally just a checkbox. For IPS, it's the custom threat prevention tab. And this is where our threat prevention blades exists, you can see that I've got threat emulation, threat extraction, IPS. I'm sorry, I don't have threat extraction clicked, but I am running threat emulation. I'm having a disk space issue, which is why I've got threat extraction turned off right now. I'm running low on space. But anyway, here is where IPS, antibot, and antivirus are. You would simply just check the box. Now, there are a couple of configuration options here. For most, we're going to recommend custom threat prevention, right? If you're an enterprise, if you're even a medium business, or even if you're a small business, but you have the skill, we would recommend custom threat prevention. Autonomous threat prevention is a checkpoint service that's really designed for that small shop that may not have the expertise or the people power to configure all of this, to tune it, and to stay on top of it. So with autonomous threat prevention, we curtail this. It's checkpoint settings. It's not modifiable, and this is why we recommend custom threat prevention. So you would literally just check the box. The other thing here that you can configure, if you click on IPS in the left-hand pane here, you can see that there's an activation mode to choose from, according to threat prevention policy or detect only. Detect only can be a nice option that you might want to consider if you want to ease into IPS in your environment. Just put it in detect only at first, right? And we'll talk through a strategy that we recommend for most customers who are deploying IPS for the first time. So we'll cover that. Just know that that's here. Also, for ease of mind, you can bypass IPS when you're under heavy load. You might have spiky workloads. You might have sensitive workloads. If you click bypass and click on advanced, you can see that you have a couple of settings around CPU and memory usage. So you get highs and low thresholds that you can set. And really what this means is that if CPU, these are the default 70 and 90, really what this means is that if CPU or memory goes over 90% utilization, then we're going to bypass IPS altogether. It's going to get shut down. That'll give us, the CPU and the memory back, and it'll give us the performance back. And then once we drop below that 70% low threshold, IPS gets re-enabled. This is good for, again, easing into IPS. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as a normal steady state configuration, because what we would rather see you is test it and get to a point where IPS is already on and that you're protected, right? And again, we'll talk to how to get there in a moment. The last thing here is updating. I've got my my updates configured on my gateway per a schedule, and I'll take you through that on how to configure that. Let's jump into IPS. So to get to the IPS configurations, to configure it and manage it and fine tune it, you're going to want to come to security policies. And this is going to give you a view of your three policies: your access control policy, which is here, your threat prevention custom policy, and your HTTPS inspection policy. When you click on any one of these areas, you're going to get a different set of tools. So if I go into the threat prevention area and I click on custom policy, you can see my tools change. And this is my threat prevention custom policy. You can see by quick glance that this policy applies to anything in my perimeter. And the action is according to this profile that is optimized. It's called optimized-Teloid 22. And you can see that that profile applies to the IPS blade, anti-bot, antivirus, threat emulation, and threat extraction. So what's happening inside this profile is the key. And before we jump into that, I probably just want to step back and talk about updates. Let's talk about updates for just a minute. I'm going to click on updates here. And what I'm going to do, one moment here. Got a dog scratching on my door. 1 second. All right, sorry about that dog situation taken care of. So if we click on updates, we're going to get to this pane. And this is where we can configure IPS updates. You can see that I'm updating every 2 hours. You can schedule that, right? So enable IPS scheduled updates. So if I configure that, you can see here is how I'm configured every 2 hours. I can do it daily. Maybe I want to do it at 2 a.m. every day when when traffic and user utilization is low. Also, when you configure or you update IPS, you need to install policy. I've got my updating schedule configured to install policy. And again, you can configure which gateways. I've got this enabled on all of my gateways where IPS is enabled. That means we probably have seen an update today. Here it is. The last time my IPS was updated was at 8:45 this morning. So you can see that it took about 5 minutes from the time that it started to the time that it completed. It deployed to my single gateway. And then you'll see that policy was pushed after the fact. So now we know this is why we've got a green checkbox, one gateway, it's up to date. So those are some of the scheduling options for updating your IPS environment. Wanted to take you through that. Coming back to the threat prevention custom policy, and this particular profile that defines the actions against these blades here. If I want to open it up, I can right click and I can click edit. I could click view too. Or if I want to see my profiles, I can simply click on profiles, and that is going to take me into all of the threat prevention profiles I have in my environment that I could deploy to my gateway. And when you enable threat prevention in your environment, you get 3 canned profiles. You get basic, you get optimized, and you get what we call strict. These are not modifiable. They are canned and they are read-only. You can apply them to your policy, no problem. You just can't modify them. So in order to fine-tune any one of these profiles to your environment, you have to clone it, which is what I've done, right? So in my environment, I'm running optimized Teloid 22, it's specific to my lab environment. I can click edit and open it up, and I can quickly see that I have some important settings. You can see that I'm preventing. I'm in my activation mode. I'm in prevent for anything that is a high confidence of detecting, and I'll walk you through what these mean in a bit. And medium confidence and low confidence is listed as a detect. So what are these confidence modes? Low confidence means that we have a low confidence that we can detect this, which means that there is potential for false positive, a higher potential for false positive. And in my profile, I'm saying in that case, just detect only, right? So that means I'm going to get a detect in my logs, right? At least I'll know that it's happening on my network and I'm detecting it. For everything else, I'm preventing. And you can see the severity that I'm running, right? I'm saying anything that is listed as severe, critical, high, medium, or above. Anything that's listed as a medium or above, I've got active protections against. Okay, and the performance impact of medium or lower, right? So this is how I'm running my environment. You can see that there are some additional configurations that you can make for IPS here. So I can click on additional activation and you can do some fine tuning here. So this is one way to accomplish fine tuning. This isn't the way that I would go about it, but it's here. So let's show you what it is. Let's just say I wanted to I wanted to ensure that all of my IPS preventions for executable files were enabled. That didn't work. Did not find exes. Oh, I got to click on the plus and then search exe. Here we go. File type executable. Right. So this is how I could ensure in one file swoop that all IPS protections for the family of executable files is here. Right. And then I could ensure that there are particular protections I don't want in my environment here. Again, this isn't the way I do it. I'm going to show you how to fine tune through the IPS browser that we call IPS protections here. The last thing, let's talk about kind of easing into a deployment through stages, right? So we would recommend for most customers 4 stages. Stage 1 would be to start in a basic mode, right? So basic detect. So come out of here for a minute. Let that update. I should have clicked yes, but I didn't. Now it's updating my profile. Not a big deal. It's just going to take a second. All right, that's now we would recommend that you start in basic detect. So I can open up a basic profile. You can see that high confidence is in prevent. I can just pop that in detect. Now I'm in basic detect, and I would configure this. I've like I said before, this is a cloned profile, so I can't change it. If I click OK, it's going to tell you, hey, this can't be changed. So we would need to clone it. I do have a cloned one here, so let's go into this cloned one. I can pop this in detect, click OK, and then take this profile and add it to my threat prevention custom policy, and now I'm in basic detect. And I can run that for a week or two and keep an eye on my logs. What am I seeing? And keep an eye on my performance, my CPU utilization, and my memory utilization. And then as a second stage, we would recommend like optimize detect. So now you're going to want to go into an optimized profile, which we were in a moment ago. This is my optimized profile. And what you could do is just ensure that it's in detect mode. What this is going to do is it's going to open up a lot more protections. So you're going to start seeing more activity, more detect activity in your logs, and it's going to open up a lot more over basic, right? So we would say run in this configuration for a season, a short while, a week or so. Keep an eye on the logs, understand what it is you're finding. Keep your eyes on CPU and memory utilization. And when you're comfortable, when you're saying, oh, okay, I'm only around 20, 25%, and this added maybe 5%, I'm ready to go into prevent mode. So then we would recommend that you go into a optimized prevent mode, right? So this is the third stage, okay? And then as a fourth stage, we would recommend that you would at least try to get to high or above here, right? After you've been running in medium or above for a season, and you can see, that your environment is stable, this is where we would want to see you get that you've got active protections against, the highest vulnerabilities that have a high or critical severity, so that your environment is protected. So this is how we would recommend that you ease into IPS, and there is further tuning that can be done, and I want to take you through that now. So if I come to my IPS browser by clicking on IPS protections, I get to this screen here. Let me yeah, we're already maximized here. So I get to the screen here, and what I can show you is that we have a lot of information to start. So just kind of moving from left to right, we've got the name of the vulnerability. We've got the industry CVE that it's filed under, release date, last update date, and then performance impact, right? So this one's a medium performance impact. You can see here's a high, and here's a critical performance impact. And then we have severity, right? Severity goes from critical, high, medium, low, and not applicable, right? So the severity of the vulnerability. And then we have confidence level, right? What is my confidence level that I can detect this vulnerability? If it's high, that's good. That means low false positives. If it's low, if my ability to detect it is low, that means there's a higher likelihood that I'm getting false positives. And moving left to right, these are my profiles. So this gives me a real quick way to compare my profile that I'm currently running in my policy against the standard optimized profile, right? So you can see in this critical vulnerability from last year, I've got it configured to prevent in my environment right now. And it's also configured that way in the optimized. But you can see in the basic profile, it's listed as inactive. Now, if I wanted to tune my IPS environment, I could do that here. And this is where I would do it. So let's pick on Cisco. They have so many products. They've got a ton of vulnerabilities. So if I pop in Cisco, you can see that I've got 117 vulnerabilities here. A lot of these protections are enabled. They're in prevent mode. Let's say I don't use Cisco AnyConnect. Their VPN client isn't in my environment. Well, I can disable that here. I can right-click over my profile and choose inactive. Now it's listed as inactive, okay? Let's say I wanted to make this inactive across all my profiles. Then I would just click in any one of these other columns and right-click and I'll get this option inactive on all profiles, and I can click it, and it's going to make it inactive on all profiles. So just know that option is there. But this is how I can fine tune my environment. And just a couple of other pieces of information. I can restore my profile back to its original optimized state. So if I just get overzealous and I've modified it too much and I want to get back to that pristine optimized state, I can just restore it. So know that's there. I can add other profiles to my view. Let's say we want to see strict. I click OK. And now there's strict. Look, strict has all of these protections enabled for Cisco. Let's get rid of the Cisco filter. There we go. You can see now strict has a lot of these protections added, right? This is going to add performance impacts to your environment, right? So just understand that. But this is really where I would spend most of my time doing that fine tuning. The other thing that I wanted to show you was this concept that we call virtual patching. Right? You've got Patch Tuesdays where you're patching your servers and your endpoints in your environment. Everybody who's ever administered a Windows box knows about Patch Tuesday. I did a little Googling and found on Forbes this article. You can see that it's pretty new. Where's the date? February 17th. I think it might have been even more recently updated. So this is just recently where Apple and Windows have issued new updates, and CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, is saying that their government entities have like 3 weeks to deploy these. Here it is right here. You got 3 weeks if you're a government agency to do this. If you're in this business of managing infrastructure, then you know this drill, right? You may have 3,000 Windows endpoints, and you may not be able to get to all 3,000. That's where this concept of virtual patching comes in, right? I can at least make a plan and know for certain that I'm virtually patched because my network is protected against these vulnerabilities. So let's grab one of the Microsoft CVEs. So here is one. There's several here. There's three. There's 3 CVEs. Let's grab one, and let's just search for it in our environment. And there it is. So I have this IPS signature running in my environment. You can see that it was rolled out on the 13th, last updated on the 13th. It's got a medium performance impact, a severity of high, a medium confidence level, and it's prevented by my custom threat profile. So what does that mean? That means as long as I'm running, I do have lots of Windows endpoints and Windows VMs, servers running in my environment, in my lab right now, and they're not patched. So this does mean that, although while the endpoints aren't patched and a bad guy could exploit that vulnerability for malicious intent, that if that happens, at least my network is going to prevent the traffic, right? So you can quickly know, am I protected? Now that gives me the confidence to be able to make a sensible plan for updating those endpoints, knowing that I can tell my, up to the CISO and my chain of command that yes, the network is protected from this vulnerability. So just a really helpful piece that IPS will give to you. The last thing I want to do is talk about exceptions. You can create exceptions, so add exception. If I wanted to add an exception, maybe I have a need for a web scanner, a network scanner that scans my public-facing web servers for legitimate reasons, but IPS is blocking it. This is where I can add exceptions to that. You also can do it through logs. Let me run a quick demo. So one of the things that I've done is, this is my gateway. So we ping my gateway. You can see it's pingable. One of the things that I have done is I've enabled a security vulnerability called max ping. So you can max ping size. So this is enabled. So here's my threat profile. If I click on details, you can see that it's got an action of drop. This is the profile applied to my gateway. So what does that mean? Well, we can see some information down here. It means that it's going to protect me from the ping of death, right? I can't send an overload of massive pings with heavy payloads that's going to, create some kind of denial of service on my endpoint, right? So you can see here's a description of what we have. I have this enabled. So you can see that I've had a small 32 byte ping. Well, what if I increase the payload to 3,600 bytes? Now the IPS blade prevents that action. So there is IPS in action. Now, if I come back to my logs, and I look at the last, let's just look at the last hour, refresh that. So here are the logs in the last hour. Let's say we want to look at traffic associated to the IPS blade. This is it. So you can see in the last hour, the IPS blade blocked something. What did it block? It blocked that large ping. And here's the protection that blocked it. And here is where it came from, right? Now I can open this log up and I can look at the detail, right? Lots of good detail here. I can quickly see the CVEs that are related to it, but I also can create an exception for this. So whenever IPS is preventing traffic, and maybe it's traffic that's legitimate that you need to allow, then you can also add an exception from here. So I wanted to point that out to you. And the last thing that I wanted to show you here is something that we call smart event. The reason why I want to show it to you is because this is smart event, these views right here. And smart event takes those logs, right? So if you look at these logs, let's get rid of our filter. If you look at these logs, the logs in Checkpoint are awesome. Our administrators love them, but just by quick glance, it's hard to really make any sense of it. Smart Event takes the data that's here and brings it into dashboards that is easily readable and digestible in human form. And we've got some threat prevention views. Now, if I click on important attacks, and I can double click that to just launch it. Did I get the double click in? There it is. So here's important attacks. So now you can see that I've got some attacks here, and the reason why was because I emulated some attacks, simulated attacks, so that you would at least see some information here. You can see the max ping block. I could also just say, hey, I want to look at the IPS blade only. All right, so here is what was prevented by IPS. You can see a number of things here. So you can just get a quick dashboard. Here's a nice activity timeline, right? So this is a one-stop shop to get a global view on what's happening in your network. It's a nice place to come when you get there for the day. Has anything happened on my network? Well, you could try to find it. You could filter it. We got some great filtering capabilities, but this gives you the ability to come to one place, to see it for what it is, and take it in an easily human readable form. Now, the last thing that I wanted to cover with you guys is something at Checkpoint that we call the security checkup, right? A security checkup is at the end of the day going to deliver this threat analysis report so that you can see what we found and what we recommend. Now, this is we are literally going to bring an appliance to your location. We're going to connect it to the network, and we're going to run it long enough to get a good sample of data. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple weeks, and then we're going to present to you that report and its findings. There's no risks in the network because we're using a mirrored port. We're not in line, so we're not becoming a bottleneck or a single point of failure. And this is literally what it looks like from an architecture deployment perspective, right? You've got your corporate LAN hitting your switch, which then goes out through your firewall and then into the internet. What we're doing is we're mirroring this port to another one and connecting in it and just passively looking at the traffic, right? We've got all the blades turned on so that we can know, hey, what's happening inside. And then we're going to come to you guys and we're going to say, hey, here's what we found and here's what we recommended. And if you want to see what a sample port looks like, just go to checkpoint.com/security checkup, fill in your information, and you will be able to download a security checkup PDF example report. All right. Hopefully you guys found this helpful, and that's what I had for you today. Thanks.